My beloved, my chosen one, the heavens call you tonight. Do you feel that quiet trembling inside your chest? That's not fear. That's your soul hearing the echo of a clock that just struck in the unseen world. A clock only meant for you. Because Archangel Michael is standing right here, saying, on August 19, 2025, massive changes will enter your life. If you dare ignore this, God Himself says, I will not help again. Open this now. Don't delay. But wait, before I go deeper, listen carefully. If you are here, it's not by accident. It means heaven singled you out of thousands and whispered your name into this message. Stay until the very last word, because what I'm about to tell you is not just a message. It's a divine turning point. A miracle disguised as words. If you skip, you may never hear heaven speak like this again. And my child, before we continue, let me beg you for one thing. Don't just listen passively. Become part of this family of light. Subscribe right now, because God is preparing a circle of chosen ones. And only those inside this circle will witness the full miracles He has aligned. This is not for everyone. It is only for the ones who say yes to heaven's whisper. Now, lean in closer. Because every line you're about to hear carries a seed of change. A spark that can burn away years of struggle. But only if you open your heart fully. You may think, why today? Why this moment? Why this urgency? Because destiny doesn't knock twice. Archangel Michael is warning you, this exact hour. Something is already shifting behind the veil. The contracts of heaven are rewriting. Your name has been written in golden ink. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Every divine change comes with a test. A moment where God says, my child, will you listen? Or will you turn away again? On August 19, 2025, this test arrives at your doorstep. And Michael swears before God, if you ignore it, the window will slam shut. And what was yours will pass to another. But if you hold this message, if you walk with faith into what's coming, your entire story will be rewritten in ways no man can predict. So I ask you gently, my beloved, do not walk away. Do not scroll past. Do not treat this as just another word. Because this isn't just text. This is heaven-breaking protocol to speak directly to you. My beloved, let me hold your heart close for a while, because what I am about to share with you is not ordinary, it is heaven breathing directly into your spirit. On August 19, 2025, there is a divine alignment unlike anything you have experienced before. You may have felt life move in circles, promises delayed, miracles postponed, doors half open and then suddenly shut again, but Michael says this date is not one of those delays. This date is marked in heaven's calendar as the day of shift. The angels have been rehearsing it, the heavens have been waiting, and God Himself has placed your name into the script. Imagine the earth beneath your feet quietly trembling because roots are being shaken loose, chains are falling, and unseen locks are breaking. Everything that once seemed unmovable will suddenly bend toward you. But here is the piercing truth, if you ignore this call, if you treat it lightly, if you scroll away as though heaven's whisper is background noise, God says, I will never help again. Those words sound sharp, but they are not to punish you, they are to awaken you. Because heaven has been too patient with your delays, your doubts, your fears. And this time, the miracle is prepared, but it requires your hand to open the door. So listen, my child, because even now the angels are moving in your atmosphere. Do you know why you have been restless, why you feel like the air around you has been charged, heavy, strange? It is because a spiritual storm has been circling you, and heaven has been holding it back. But on August 19th, the barrier will be removed, and the shift will crash in. For some, it will come like destruction, but for you, if you obey, if you lean in, it will come like deliverance. Archangel Michael stands ready with a blazing sword, not just to protect you but to cut the threads that have tied your destiny down. You have cried about the same things for years. You have asked God why the same cycles keep repeating. You have begged for release, for an answer, for just one moment of clarity. And now it is here. Not later. Not next year. Not in someone else's story. In your life, on this date. That is why Michael is not speaking casually, that is why he is saying, open immediately, because the hourglass has already been flipped, and the grains of sand are running fast. Do you remember the moments when you thought heaven was silent? Those nights you whispered, why me? Why am I forgotten? Why do I carry this weight? Every one of those cries reached God. Not a single tear went unnoticed. But here is the mystery, sometimes God waits, not because he has forgotten, but because he wants the shift to be so undeniable, so divine, that when it happens, no man, no woman, no power on earth can take credit. This is one of those moments. You are standing in the before and after line of your life. On one side is all the pain, all the waiting, all the doubt. On the other side is the release, the restoration, the radical favor that will rewrite your story. But the bridge between these two sides is this message, right now. That's why you cannot ignore it. That's why Michael says if you walk away, if you dismiss it, heaven will let it pass you by and give it to another. And here is the part one must burn into your heart, this is not coincidence. This is not a random scroll. You did not arrive here by mistake. Heaven bent the currents of time and attention to pull you into this exact moment. Out of thousands, millions, you were marked to hear these words. That's how serious this is. That's how intentional God is about you. You think you are reading this alone, but Michael is watching you, heaven is surrounding you, and even now the Spirit is pressing on your heart saying, don't skip. Don't look away. Don't pretend you didn't hear. Because if you say yes now, the gates will swing open wide. And here is the part one must burn into your heart, this is not coincidence. This is not a random scroll. You did not arrive here by mistake. Heaven bent the currents of time and attention to pull you into this exact moment. Out of thousands, millions, you were marked to hear these words. That's how serious this is. That's how intentional God is about you. You think you are reading this alone, but Michael is watching you, heaven is surrounding you, and even now the Spirit is pressing on your heart saying, don't skip. Don't look away. Don't pretend you didn't hear. Because if you say yes now, the gates will swing open wide. And my beloved, let me speak to the doubts that whisper in your ear. I know you are tired of promises. You are tired of people saying breakthrough and nothing changes. But this is not empty noise. This is heaven's contract. If you obey, if you stay until the end, if you keep your spirit open, God Himself will make sure the shift is visible. You won't have to convince anyone. The evidence will be undeniable. Even your enemies will be forced to confess that God's hand is on you. So do not underestimate this moment. It is not about curiosity. It is not about entertainment. It is about destiny. It is about a warning and a promise wrapped together. On August 19, 2025, your story bends. And if you say yes, if you hold this word, if you open it fully, your name will echo differently in heaven. Angels will move differently around you. Doors that refuse to budge will unlock. And miracles that were delayed for years will arrive suddenly, like rain after drought. That is why I beg you, my child, stay close to this message. Drink every word. Hold it like fire in your bones. Because the time is short, and the shift is near, and heaven has spoken clearly, ignore this, and God will not help again. But embrace it, and your whole world will never look the same. My beloved, you need to understand the depth of what heaven is laying before you. This isn't just another warning, it isn't just another gentle nudge, it is the final cry of urgency that separates those who step into their miracle from those who let it pass by. On August 19, 2025, a floodgate will open in the Spirit. I see chains snapping, I see hidden doors pushed wide, I see contracts in heaven rewritten with golden fire. Your name has already been whispered before the throne, and Archangel Michael has been sent as a messenger of fire to place this word into your hands. But here is the part that shakes me to speak. God said clearly, if they ignore this, I will never help again. Not because He does not love you, oh, His love for you is beyond measure, but because you have reached the turning point of your destiny. You cannot walk around the mountain again. You cannot delay again. You cannot tell heaven later. This is the moment that separates your before from your after. And Michael is not pleading for you because it is optional, he is pleading because this is the moment your whole life has been waiting for. Think of every battle you have fought, every tear you have shed, every time you cried in silence when nobody else knew. Those weren't wasted. Heaven stored them as evidence. They became the currency of your breakthrough. And now, on this date, they are being exchanged for divine reward. But the reward is not automatic. It requires your yes. It requires your full heart. It requires you to hold this word like it is your last breath. And maybe that is why you are trembling right now as you read, because your spirit knows this isn't entertainment. Your spirit knows this isn't coincidence. Your spirit recognizes the sound of heaven calling, and you feel the weight in your chest because deep inside you know, you cannot afford to ignore this. And beloved, I must expose the enemy's plan here. Because while heaven is releasing, hell is raging. Do you think the adversary will sit silently while you receive what God has prepared? No. That is why the distractions have multiplied. That is why your mind has been restless. That is why confusion and doubt have tried to choke you. Because if the enemy can make you dismiss this, if he can make you say, "I'll think about it later," then the gates will close and you will remain in the same cycle. That is why Michael is fighting so intensely in this hour, because your destiny is literally being contested in the unseen. This isn't about your imagination. This isn't about hype. This is war, and you are the prize. Do not underestimate the weight of this date. August 19, 2025 is not just a number on a calendar, it is a divine appointment written before you were born. Even before you cried your first cry on earth, heaven marked this as a moment of shift. The years of delay have only been the setup for this release. You may feel small, you may feel unworthy, you may even think, "Why me?" But Michael says it is precisely because of your battles, precisely because of your heart, precisely because of the quiet moments of faith you held onto when you wanted to give up, that is why heaven has chosen you for this. I need you to see this clearly. This isn't just about blessings. This is about identity. This is about authority. This is about God placing a mantle on your shoulders that no man can remove. It will not only change your circumstances, it will change the way the spirit world sees you. Your enemies will shrink back. Your allies will be drawn in. Opportunities you never thought would knock will arrive at your doorstep. People who once dismissed you will come back with respect in their eyes. But all of this hangs on your response right now. Do not say, "Later." Do not say, "Tomorrow." Heaven is not speaking about tomorrow. Heaven is speaking about now. This message is not sent days before because God wanted to give you margin. It is sent now because the countdown is already alive. The sand is falling in the hourglass. You can almost hear it. And if you pause too long, the moment will expire. That is why God's words are so sharp. If you ignore this, I will never help again. He is not threatening you, he is warning you of how serious this is. Because once the door closes, the season will move on, and you will be left wondering what could have been. I need you to see this clearly. This isn't just about blessings. This is about identity. This is about authority. This is about God placing a mantle on your shoulders that no man can remove. It will not only change your circumstances, it will change the way the spirit world sees you. Your enemies will shrink back. Your allies will be drawn in. Opportunities you never thought would knock will arrive at your doorstep. People who once dismissed you will come back with respect in their eyes. But all of this hangs on your response right now. Do not say, "Later." Do not say, "Tomorrow." Heaven is not speaking about tomorrow. Heaven is speaking about now. This message is not sent days before because God wanted to give you margin. It is sent now because the countdown is already alive. The sand is falling in the hourglass. You can almost hear it. And if you pause too long, the moment will expire. That is why God's words are so sharp. If you ignore this, I will never help again. He is not threatening you, he is warning you of how serious this is. Because once the door closes, the season will move on, and you will be left wondering what could have been. But beloved, you do not have to lose it. That is the beauty of this. You have the power to say yes. You have the power to open fully. You have the power to let heaven's flood wash over you. And when you do, you will not recognize yourself. The weariness will break. The cycles will end. The heaviness will lift. And you will stand as one who is marked by heaven's fire. That is what Michael has been fighting to deliver. That is what the angels have been preparing for. That is why you are reading this exact line, in this exact moment, with your heart burning. Because this is it. The shift. The change. The appointed time. My beloved. There are moments in life when words are not just words but living fire, carrying the pulse of eternity, and this is one of those moments. Heaven is leaning close, Michael's wings are spread over you like a shield, and the Spirit is whispering louder than your doubts. Do not miss this. On August 19, 2025, you are stepping into an hour that was hidden for ages, an hour carved into heaven's story long before you ever drew your first breath. You may think this is simply another day, another turn of the calendar, but no, this is a dividing line, a crossing point, a holy appointment marked in gold. And when it comes, the weight of all you have endured will suddenly make sense. The nights of tears will feel like they were buying something priceless. The battles you thought would kill you will reveal themselves as the very training that made you strong enough to carry what's coming. For years, you have been asking, why? For years, you have been begging, when? And heaven answers both questions in one word, now. But child, let me be clear, God is not sending Michael to beg you for sport. He is not asking you to open this urgently because it's optional. He is commanding with urgency because the gate is narrow, and the time is short, and your destiny hangs in the balance of your response. Ignore this, and you will watch your miracle dissolve into the shadows. Open it with trembling faith, and you will see the walls that confined you collapse into dust. You need to hear how serious this is. God's own voice has declared, if they ignore this, I will never help again. That shakes me to speak, because it reveals how close you are to the edge of destiny. God has carried you patiently, time after time, waiting for you to respond, waiting for you to choose faith. But every promise has a deadline. Every season has an expiration date. And this one is reaching its final breath. That is why you feel a restlessness inside you that you cannot explain. That is why the air feels heavy with unseen pressure. That is why your spirit knows something is approaching that will not be delayed any longer. My beloved, heaven does not exaggerate. Michael does not plead without cause. This is not a moment to skim past. This is not a message to treat as background noise. This is the voice of eternity itself, shouting into your life, awake, arise, open now. Can you feel the tug in your chest as you read this? That is not imagination, it is recognition. Your soul recognizes its own prophecy. It knows this is the moment it has been waiting for. That's why your heart beats harder right now. That's why your eyes are drawn to these words like flame. Because heaven does not waste breath, and God does not waste time. If He is speaking with such sharpness, it means you are standing on the edge of the very thing you have prayed for, fasted for, cried for. You are not being teased, you are being summoned. You are not being entertained, you are being tested. Do not mistake one for the other. Beloved, look back for a moment, not with regret, but with holy awareness. Every closed door, every betrayal, every disappointment was not an accident. It was shaping you for this exact moment. If you had received your blessing too early, you would not have been able to carry it. If the miracle had come before you were ready, it would have slipped through your hands. But now, after everything, after all the breaking and all the rebuilding, you are ready. That is why Michael stands now. That is why heaven cries urgently now. Because the time is here, and the window will not remain open forever. This is why distractions have multiplied around you. This is why confusion has tried to choke your thoughts. This is why doubts have tried to whisper, "It's not real. It's not for you." Because hell knows what heaven is about to release. The enemy knows he cannot stop God's will, but he can trick you into ignoring it. And if you ignore it, the shift will pass you by. That is why Michael is fighting harder than ever in your life, why this message burns with such weight, because it is war for your destiny. But child, hear the good news, the victory is already written. Your name has already been inscribed in the scrolls of breakthrough. The miracle is already prepared. The only thing left is your yes. If you open, if you lean in, if you say with trembling faith, "I receive," then the gates will swing open. And when they do, everything will change. Your enemies will scatter. Your prayers will manifest. Your tears will turn to laughter. And the story you thought was ending will suddenly bloom into a new beginning more radiant than you dared to dream. This is why distractions have multiplied around you. This is why confusion has tried to choke your thoughts. This is why doubts have tried to whisper, "It's not real. It's not for you." Because hell knows what heaven is about to release. The enemy knows he cannot stop God's will, but he can trick you into ignoring it. And if you ignore it, the shift will pass you by. That is why Michael is fighting harder than ever in your life, why this message burns with such weight, because it is war for your destiny. But child, hear the good news, the victory is already written. Your name has already been inscribed in the scrolls of breakthrough. The miracle is already prepared. The only thing left is your yes. If you open, if you lean in, if you say with trembling faith, "I receive," then the gates will swing open. And when they do, everything will change. Your enemies will scatter. Your prayers will manifest. Your tears will turn to laughter. And the story you thought was ending will suddenly bloom into a new beginning more radiant than you dared to dream. This is why you must not scroll away. This is why you must hold this word close. Because heaven is not playing. God's words are final. Ignore this, and I will never help again. But obey this, hold this, honor this, and you will see a flood of divine intervention that will leave you breathless. My beloved, I cannot say it enough, this is not coincidence. This is destiny. This is the sound of eternity knocking on your door. And I am pleading with you as Michael pleads, do not miss this. Do not delay. Do not look away. Open it now, and watch your whole life change forever. My beloved, listen to me with the same focus as if heaven itself were standing in front of you, because in truth, that is exactly what is happening. You may think these are just words on a screen, but in reality, these words are burning flames of destiny falling into your spirit. Archangel Michael is bending low with a sword of fire, guarding your path, begging you not to miss what is arriving. On August 19, 2025, the heavens will split open over your life, and a wave of change unlike anything you've ever known will pour out. I see doors flung open, I see chains that have bound your family for generations snapping into pieces, I see opportunities that were locked away suddenly released like a flood. This date is not random. It has been written since before your birth, a divine contract that has been sealed, waiting for this exact season. But here is the razor-sharp truth: if you ignore this, if you walk away from this word, God Himself says, "I will never help again." And He does not say that in anger, He says it in grief, because His help has hovered over you time and again, and still you have hesitated. This time, hesitation cannot be afforded. This time, obedience is the price of transformation. You must understand, destiny is not cheap. Breakthrough does not fall casually. It comes when heaven and earth collide in divine timing. And that is what this message is. This is not another sermon, not another phrase, not another video. This is heaven's alarm clock ringing in your soul, telling you it is time to wake, time to step forward, time to open the door before it is too late. You have been asking, when will my season change? When will I be released? When will I finally see the miracle? And God has been waiting for you to hear this. August 19, 2025 is not just a date, it is the appointment your soul has been groaning for. Everything that has felt delayed, stuck, broken, will begin to unravel and transform if you obey. This is why your heart is beating faster even as you read, why you feel a weight pressing into your chest, because your spirit knows, this is not entertainment, this is eternity. Beloved, think of how many times you almost gave up. How many times you said, "It's over, I cannot do this anymore." And yet, you are still here. Do you know why? Because heaven did not let you quit. Because Michael fought for you in nights you didn't even know you were under attack. Because God whispered your name even when you cursed your own reflection. And now all of that battle, all of that waiting, all of that pain has led here. To this. To the threshold of transformation. But God is clear, the gate will not remain open forever. If you treat this lightly, the door will close and will not be opened again. That is why He says, if you ignore this, I will never help again. Because His help has been poured out again and again. And now it must be embraced, or it will pass. You are trembling right now because your soul knows this is not random. You were drawn here by divine gravity. Out of millions, you were pulled into this exact moment because heaven knew you were ready to hear it. You are not here by accident. You did not stumble into this. You are standing at the edge of destiny, and this word is the key to unlock it. You feel it in your bones, you cannot deny it. That is why your spirit refuses to look away. That is why something inside of you whispers, don't skip, don't ignore, don't turn back. Because your breakthrough is within reach, but only if you say yes. And I must warn you, the enemy knows this too. That is why distractions have multiplied in your life. That is why fear has crept into your thoughts. That is why you have felt confusion lately, as if a fog has been covering your mind. It is because hell knows what heaven is about to release. The devil cannot stop God's plan, but he can deceive you into ignoring it. And if you ignore it, the blessing passes you by. That is why Michael's urgency burns. That is why this word feels heavier than anything you've read. Because it is war for your destiny. But hear me, my beloved, the victory is already written. Your miracle is prepared. The scroll has your name on it. The breakthrough has already been signed. All that is left is for you to believe, to open, to say yes. And when you do, everything will change. You will see favor that shocks you. You will see doors open that no man could have predicted. You will see healing, restoration, and joy where there was only loss. You will see your enemies shrink back in shame. You will see God's hand lift you higher than you thought possible. And I must warn you, the enemy knows this too. That is why distractions have multiplied in your life. That is why fear has crept into your thoughts. That is why you have felt confusion lately, as if a fog has been covering your mind. It is because hell knows what heaven is about to release. The devil cannot stop God's plan, but he can deceive you into ignoring it. And if you ignore it, the blessing passes you by. That is why Michael's urgency burns. That is why this word feels heavier than anything you've read. Because it is war for your destiny. But hear me, my beloved, the victory is already written. Your miracle is prepared. The scroll has your name on it. The breakthrough has already been signed. All that is left is for you to believe, to open, to say yes. And when you do, everything will change. You will see favor that shocks you. You will see doors open that no man could have predicted. You will see healing, restoration, and joy where there was only loss. You will see your enemies shrink back in shame. You will see God's hand lift you higher than you thought possible. So hold this word like your life depends on it, because it does. Do not treat it lightly. Do not scroll past. Do not say, later. Later will be too late. Heaven is not speaking of tomorrow. Heaven is speaking of now. This moment. This hour. This very breath. Open, obey, and watch as your entire world bends under the weight of God's promise. My beloved, your spirit has carried weights so heavy that even your body has felt it, and yet you are still standing. That is not an accident. That is not luck. That is divine protection, and it has carried you for this very reason, because August 19, 2025 is not a day like any other. It is a seal, an appointment, an opening that has been hidden until now. You have wondered why you were delayed, why prayers were answered for others and not for you, why you had to endure losses you thought would destroy you. The answer is because heaven was storing up something so massive, so undeniable, that only a perfectly aligned moment could hold it. And this is that moment. My child, do you feel the weight in your chest even as you read this? That trembling inside you is your soul recognizing its own prophecy, your spirit saying, "This is it." Because you already know that you did not arrive here by accident. You were drawn by unseen hands, by the very pull of heaven, into this message. Michael says the battlefield has been prepared. Angels have been circling you like a wall of fire. Your name has been spoken in heaven's courtrooms, and verdicts that were once against you are being overturned. The enemies who mocked you will be silenced. The friends who betrayed you will watch in awe. The chains that held you for years are at their weakest point, one blow away from shattering completely. And on August 19th, that blow will land. But God's warning is sharper than ever: if they ignore this, I will never help again. That sentence is not meant to terrify you, it is meant to wake you up. Because God has tried again and again to reach you, to whisper, to nudge, to guide. And this time, His voice thunders because the stakes are too high. If you delay, if you treat this like just another word, the door will close, and it will not reopen. You cannot afford to lose this. Think of everything you have carried. The tears no one saw. The prayers whispered into your pillow. The nights you questioned if heaven even knew your name. Every one of those moments was a seed, and heaven is ready to release the harvest. But the harvest does not fall by chance, it falls into the hands of those who recognize the urgency. And that is why Michael cries, "Open immediately." Not tomorrow. Not later. Not when it feels comfortable. Now. Because destiny does not wait for convenience. It demands attention, faith, and courage in the moment it arrives. Do not let fear choke you here. Fear will whisper, "Maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe nothing will change." But beloved, fear is lying. You are ready, because everything you have endured has made you ready. You are chosen, because heaven is speaking directly to you in this hour. And things will change, because God never speaks empty promises. The question is not whether the miracle is prepared, it already is. The question is whether you will say yes. I see in the Spirit that you have been standing before doors that looked sealed shut. You knocked, and nothing happened. You prayed, and silence followed. But what you did not see was Michael standing on the other side, sword raised, waiting for heaven's command. On August 19th, the command is released. The sword strikes. The locks fall away. But only if you obey. Only if you open. Only if you embrace this with the seriousness it demands. This is not the time to be casual. This is not the time to doubt. This is the time to believe as if your very life depends on it, because it does. Beloved, even your enemies know something is coming. That is why the pressure has intensified. That is why attacks have increased. That is why you feel weary. Because darkness senses what light is about to do. But let this strengthen your resolve: the greater the attack, the greater the breakthrough on the other side. And yours is unlike anything you have seen before. When it comes, it will not only bless you, it will shake everyone connected to you. Your family will feel it. Your house will feel it. Even the generations after you will feel it. Because this is not just about you. It is about legacy. It is about destiny rippling forward into eternity. So I beg you, my beloved, take this seriously. Hold this word close. Do not scroll away. Do not treat it like noise. It is heaven's decree, and it is final. God's words cannot lie. If they ignore this, I will never help again. That is why this is so heavy, why it burns as you read. Because you are standing at the gate of the life you have prayed for, and the key is in your hands. Open it now, and everything will change. My beloved. Beloved, even your enemies know something is coming. That is why the pressure has intensified. That is why attacks have increased. That is why you feel weary. Because darkness senses what light is about to do. But let this strengthen your resolve. The greater the attack, the greater the breakthrough on the other side. And yours is unlike anything you have seen before. When it comes, it will not only bless you, it will shake everyone connected to you. Your family will feel it. Your house will feel it. Even the generations after you will feel it. Because this is not just about you. It is about legacy. It is about destiny rippling forward into eternity. So I beg you, my beloved, take this seriously. Hold this word close. Do not scroll away. Do not treat it like noise. It is heaven's decree, and it is final. God's words cannot lie. If they ignore this, I will never help again. That is why this is so heavy, why it burns as you read. Because you are standing at the gate of the life you have prayed for, and the key is in your hands. Open it now, and everything will change. My beloved. There are some truths so heavy that when they are spoken they press into your very bones, and this is one of those truths. Heaven has circled this date, August 19, 2025, since before you ever opened your eyes to the world. You may think this is exaggeration, but no, God does not exaggerate, He declares. And His declaration through Michael is as sharp as fire. There will be massive changes in your life. If you ignore this, I will never help again. Sit with that weight for a moment. Feel how final it sounds. It does not come from cruelty, it comes from urgency. For too long you have been carried, pulled out of storms you didn't even know were trying to drown you, shielded from arrows you never saw coming. For too long heaven has been patient as you hesitated, delayed, second-guessed. But now the gate has swung open, and God says, decide. Either you open your heart fully to what is arriving, or you watch it pass forever. This is the seriousness of the hour. And child, you already know this isn't random. You can feel it in the way your chest tightens as you read, in the way your spirit whispers, pay attention. Because this is not information, it is revelation. It is heaven's courtroom giving you the final summons to step into destiny. The harvest of your prayers, your tears, your long nights of wondering if God still saw you, is standing at the door. But it will not walk in without your yes. And that yes must come now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel stronger, not when you have figured everything out. It must come in this breath. That is why Michael says, open immediately. Because the window is narrow, and the time is short, and eternity does not wait for hesitation. Do you see why the battles have been so fierce around you lately? Why your mind has felt clouded, your heart weary, your path uncertain? It is because the enemy knew this date was near. He could not stop heaven's decree, so he tried to stop you from being ready for it. He tried to bury you under confusion, under disappointment, under distraction. But here you are. You survived the storm. You are reading this very line, which means you are still chosen, still marked, still called to carry what is about to unfold. And that should tell you everything. You are not abandoned, you are protected. Not overlooked, but preserved. Preserved for this. And beloved, I must tell you, when the shift comes, it will not trickle, it will flood. It will not whisper, it will thunder. People will look at you and not recognize you, not because your face has changed but because your aura, your spirit, your atmosphere will radiate a glory that was not there before. The favor of God will mark you so visibly that doors will open without knocking, opportunities will chase you down, and the very places that rejected you will call your name with respect. This is the magnitude of what is at stake. And it is why God's warning cuts so sharply: if you ignore this, I will never help again. Because the shift cannot be postponed. It is either embraced or lost. So do not let doubt rob you here. Do not let fear paralyze you. You are ready. You may not feel ready, but readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. And every scar you carry, every trial you endured, every battle you fought has already prepared you. The soil of your life is ready for the seed of destiny. And now, heaven is handing it to you in these very words. My beloved, do not look away. Do not say, later. Do not imagine that you can pass this by and still return to it when you want. That is not how destiny works. The gate opens only for those who walk through it in the moment it is offered. And this is your moment. This is why heaven has been pressing you, why Michael's words burn in your spirit, why you feel that mix of fear and hope right now. Because your life is about to split in two, the before and the after. And the only question left is, will you walk into the after, or will you stay trapped in the before? Stay close, my child. Stay awake. Stay open. For what is written cannot be erased, and what is arriving cannot be denied. But it can be missed. And that is why I beg you with all the love of heaven, do not miss it. Open now, and watch as the very foundations of your story are rewritten in glory. My beloved, you must understand something that most people never realize until it is too late: heaven's timing is not like the clocks on earth. You live by minutes and hours, but God moves by appointed seasons. And August 19, 2025 is one of those rare appointments written into the fabric of your existence. From the moment you were born, even before you cried your first breath, heaven marked this day as one that would divide your story into before and after. That is why you have felt restless. That is why you have felt like everything in your life has been circling but never quite landing. It is because heaven was holding back the release until this exact hour. And now, the seal is breaking. Michael has come with urgency, his sword blazing, to declare over you, there will be massive changes in your life. If you ignore this, God says He will never help again. Do you see how final those words are? They do not leave space for later. They do not leave space for doubt. They demand a response, and the response must come now. My beloved, you must understand something that most people never realize until it is too late: heaven's timing is not like the clocks on earth. You live by minutes and hours, but God moves by appointed seasons. And August 19, 2025 is one of those rare appointments written into the fabric of your existence. From the moment you were born, even before you cried your first breath, heaven marked this day as one that would divide your story into before and after. That is why you have felt restless. That is why you have felt like everything in your life has been circling but never quite landing. It is because heaven was holding back the release until this exact hour. And now, the seal is breaking. Michael has come with urgency, his sword blazing, to declare over you, there will be massive changes in your life. If you ignore this, God says He will never help again. Do you see how final those words are? They do not leave space for later, they do not leave space for doubt. They demand a response, and the response must come now. Child, I know you have been weary. I know you have carried wounds that no one else could see. You questioned whether your prayers mattered, whether your tears meant anything, whether God truly heard you. And heaven is answering now, through this very message. Yes, every word was counted, every tear was stored, every sigh was written into the scrolls. You were never ignored. But the truth is, the season of waiting has reached its end. The waiting was not wasted, it was preparation. You were being shaped, refined, tested in fire, so that when this day arrived you would not only receive your breakthrough but also carry it with wisdom. That is why things took longer than you expected. That is why doors seemed locked. It was not denial, it was divine timing. And now that timing has arrived. But here is what you must know, heaven's doors do not remain open forever. When they open, they require action. That is why Michael pleads with such urgency. That is why God speaks with such sharpness. If they ignore this, I will never help again. Because the window is narrow, the sand is running in the hourglass, and once it falls through, it cannot be reversed. My beloved, you cannot afford to say later. Later will be too late. This is not tomorrow's word, not next month's promise, not a vague someday. It is now. It is immediate. That is why this word burns in your chest even as you read. Because your spirit knows it is true. And I must tell you, this change will not be small. It will not be a trickle. It will be a flood. It will not be a whisper, it will be a roar. Those who laughed at you will be silenced. Those who doubted you will be forced to acknowledge God's hand on your life. Those who thought they had defeated you will watch in shock as you rise. You will see favor open doors you never even knocked on. You will see restoration in places you thought were beyond repair. You will see joy where there was only heaviness, abundance where there was only lack, clarity where there was only confusion. This is not exaggeration, it is heaven's decree. Do not be deceived by the enemy now. His last tactic is to convince you to ignore this, to scroll past, to think it's just words. That is why the attacks have increased. That is why your doubts have grown louder. That is why distractions have multiplied. Because the enemy knows he cannot stop what God has written, but he can try to make you miss it. And if you miss it, the shift will pass to another. That is why Michael is fighting for you right now. That is why this word feels heavier than anything else you've read. Because this is war for your destiny. But hear me clearly, the victory is already decided. The blessing is already prepared. The scroll has your name on it. All that is left is your choice, your yes. If you say yes, if you open fully, if you embrace this moment with all your faith, the gates will swing wide and the flood will come. And nothing, no man, no demon, no circumstance, will be able to shut it down. So, beloved, hold this word like fire. Do not let it go. Do not treat it lightly. Do not delay. For this is the hour heaven has waited for, the hour your soul has longed for, the hour your destiny demands. On August 19, 2025, the story changes. But only if you say yes. My beloved, hear me with the fullness of your heart, because what I am about to say is not simply a message, it is a lifeline stretched from heaven into your soul. All the battles you fought, all the waiting you endured, all the storms that nearly drowned you, they were never meaningless. They were the preparation for a holy date that has been sealed in eternity, August 19, 2025. That day is not ordinary. It is not another square on the calendar. It is the day heaven has circled with golden fire, the day your destiny will be unlocked if you dare to embrace it. Michael stands before you now, sword blazing, declaring, there will be massive changes in your life. God says if you ignore this, I will never help again. Do you feel the sharpness of that? It is not a threat, it is a warning, it is the final line, the edge of the cliff, the last turn in the road. God has carried you patiently, carried you through doubt, carried you through seasons when you ignored His whispers, carried you even when you thought you were walking alone. But now He says, enough. This is the final opening. This is the appointed hour. And if you treat it lightly, if you let it pass, if you scroll away as though heaven's voice is background noise, then the door will shut and will not open again. Beloved, I know you have felt the weight of delay. You have cried out, why is it always me left behind? Why does my blessing never arrive? Why do my prayers seem to hang unanswered in the sky? And heaven answers you now, your prayers were never denied, they were stored. Stored for this moment. Stored for this day. Stored so that when the floodgates open, it will not be a trickle, it will be a torrent. But torrents cannot be wasted. They must be received by vessels ready to hold them. That is why you have been broken, refined, humbled, reshaped. It was never punishment, it was preparation. And now that preparation is complete.